They didn't test her to help her. They tested her to expose her. But one piano note changed everything. Why did the teachers look at each other before calling her name? It was not a friendly look. It was quiet, quick, almost planned. The music room felt colder than usual that day. The wooden floor looked clean but tired. Pale walls surrounded the space, holding years of sound inside them. A few old posters about music hung slightly crooked, corners curling as if they had been forgotten. The black piano stood in the center of the room, polished on the outside, worn on the inside, like it had seen many tests before. Too many. Chairs were placed in straight rows, facing the piano. Teachers sat there with papers resting on their laps, pens ready in their hands. Their faces were calm. Too calm. Some leaned back, relaxed. Some leaned forward, already focused. All of them watched carefully, as if this moment had been decided long before she entered the room. She stood near the door, not moving at first. Her hands were held together tightly, her fingers pressed into each other, not from cold, but from nerves. Her heart was beating too fast. She tried to slow it down by breathing slowly, the way she had practiced before. In through the nose, out through the mouth. But her heart did not listen. A teacher spoke her name, not loud, not warm, just from. The sound of a name echoed briefly, then disappeared into the room. She lifted her head and walked forward. Each step felt heavier than the last. The sound of her shoes against the wooden floor echoed more than she expected. It felt too loud, too clear, like everyone could hear her fear with every step she took. The piano bench waited in front of the keys. Simple, wooden, slightly worn in the middle where many others had sat before her. She turned and sat down slowly, careful not to make noise. The bench made a soft sound anyway. She froze for a moment, then relaxed when no one reacted. The room went quiet. Too quiet. One teacher adjusted their glasses. Another tapped a pen once, then stopped. Someone smiled, just a little. Not a kind smile. A knowing one, a smile that did not invite hope. She felt it immediately. This was not encouragement. This was a test. She looked down at the piano keys. Black and white. Perfectly lined up. Calm/almost innocent. They looked simple, but she knew better. These keys could show everything. Fear, mistakes, truth. There was no place to hide once sound filled the room. A teacher cleared their throat. Play, they said. No song name, no warm words, no warning. Her chest tightened as if the air had suddenly become heavier. She slowly placed her hands above the keys. They hovered there, shaking slightly. She tried to control it. She did not want them to see her hands shake. She did not want them to see how much this moment mattered. The teachers leaned forward just a bit. Their eyes followed her hands, not her face, like they were watching an experiment, like they were waiting to see what would fail first. She realized something then. This test was chosen on purpose. Not to help her. Not to guide her, but to see if she would break. Her mouth felt dry. She swallowed. The sound felt loud in her own ears. She wanted to ask a question. Any question. Something small. Something to slow time down. But no words came out. Silence stretched. A teacher glanced at another and raised an eyebrow. Another smiled again, this time more clearly. It was still small, but it hurt more now. Each felt personal. She remembered moments like this before, being asked to wait while others were invited forward, being told to try later, being watched closely while others were encouraged freely, being corrected before she even finished trying. Her hands lowered slightly, then stopped. She could feel her pulse in her fingers. Each beat felt heavy, loud. The piano was right there. So close. But it felt far away, like something she had not earned the right to touch. Like the space between her and the keys was filled with every doubt she had ever been given. She took a slow breath. The room smelled like old wood and paper. Familiar. Heavy. The kind of place where mistakes stay longer than praise, where silence remembers everything. She wondered why this moment felt different from all the others, why the air felt sharper, why her chest felt tight, like something important was about to happen, whether she wanted it to or not. One teacher checked their watch. Another wrote something on their paper. They were waiting, not for music, for proof. Her shoulders tensed. She straightened her back slightly, not with confidence, but with effort. She reminded herself that she was still sitting there, that she had not stood up, that she had not run away. Her fingers hovered again, this time closer. She could feel the cool surface of the keys under her skin. Her hands trembled more now. She pressed her lips together to stop them from shaking too. The silence became uncomfortable. Someone shifted in their seat. A quiet sigh came from the back of the room. She felt small, measured weight. Like every second of silence was another mark against her. She thought about standing up, about saying she was not ready, about leaving the room and letting this moment disappear like it never happened. No one would stop her, but something inside her stayed still. She remembered practicing alone, late hours, quiet rooms, no applause, no approval, just sound and feeling, just her and the piano, without eyes watching, without judgment waiting. Those moments mattered. Even if no one else knew, her finger moved down slowly, not touching yet, just close enough to feel the edge of the key. Her heart raced. The teachers leaned forward without realizing it. Their pens stopped moving. Their faces showed focus now, not smiles. Curiosity replaced confidence. The test had reached its edge. She paused. Right there. Between silence and sound, the piano waited. The room waited, and no one knew what would happen next. Why did the room feel different the moment the first sound appeared? It was only one note, just one. Soft, clear, steady. The sound did not rush out. It did not try to be loud. It did not beg for attention. It simply entered the room, calm and honest, like it had been waiting for the right moment. Something shifted. A teacher's pen stopped in midair. Another teacher slowly straightened in their chair. The small smiles that once sat on their faces disappeared, replaced by stillness. No one laughed. No one whispered. Her fingers stayed on the key a moment longer than needed. She listened as the sound faded into the air. Her heart was still beating fast, but it no longer felt out of control. It felt awake. She pressed another key. Then, another. The notes began to connect, gently at first, like someone speaking after holding too much inside for too long. The piano responded to her touch, not fighting her, not judging her, just answering. The room leaned into the sound. Chairs did not move anymore. Papers stayed untouched. Eyes stayed fixed on her hands. The teachers were no longer watching to find mistakes. They were listening. Her shoulders relaxed without her noticing. The tightness in her chest slowly loosened. With every note, she felt less like she was being tested and more like she was simply being heard. The melody grew, not louder, not faster. Deeper. It filled the space between the walls. It softened the pale room and warmed the cold air. The old posters on the walls felt less forgotten. Even the piano seemed different now, alive under her fingers. She leaned slightly forward. Her breathing matched the rhythm of the music. Her hands no longer shook. They moved with memory, guided by quiet hours spent alone, practicing without praise or permission. A teacher in the front row blinked slowly and lowered their gaze for a moment. Another teacher uncrossed their arms and rested their hands on their knees. Someone in the back took a slow breath, louder than they meant to. The music carried feeling, not sadness, not joy. Truth. It spoke of waiting, of being unseen, of staying quiet when others were chosen first. It spoke of strength that grows in silence. She was no longer thinking about the teachers. She was no longer thinking about the test. The room faded until there was only sound and movement and breath. She belonged here now. The melody rose gently, then paused. leaving space between notes. That space mattered. It held everything she had never said. As the music moved toward its end, it softened again. The notes became lighter, careful, almost fragile, like a final thought shared before Silos returns. She pressed the last key. The sound lingered. Then, fadid. Silence filled the room again, but it was not the same silence as before. This silence was full. No one moved. No one spoke. The teachers looked at each other, but this time there was no planning in their eyes. No quiet agreement, only surprise, reflection, respect. Then one person clapped. Just one. The sound was sharp in the quiet room. Another pair of hands followed. Then, another. The applause grew, filling the space where Dowd had lived moments earlier. It echoed off the walls, warm and real. Not polite, not forced. Honest. She lifted her hands from the keys and rested them in her lap. Her fingers felt light, almost numb. She stood slowly, unsure what to do next. Her legs were steady. She turned to face the room. The teachers were standing now. Some nodded, some smiled, not with confidence this time, but with understanding. She lowered her head slightly, not in pride, not in fear. Just acknowledgement. As she stepped away from the piano, she looked back at it once. The black surface reflected the soft lights above. It looked calm, complete. Light it had spoken for her. She walked toward the door. The applause faded behind her, but the feeling stayed. The hallway outside was quiet and empty. Plain walls. Cool air. She stopped there for a moment. Her heart slowed. She thought about the look the teachers shared at the beginning. The quiet planning. The test meant to measure her limits. She understood something clearly now. The test did not break her. It revealed her. She stepped outside. The air felt fresh against her face. She took a deep breath and let it out slowly. For the first time, she did not feel small. She did not feel measured. She felt free, and she knew this was not the end. It was the moment everything finally began.